Welcome to Innovation Exchange. Innovation requires curiosity and grit. I'm Elizabeth Thielen at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. UW-Whitewater is powered by the spirit of innovation. Every episode, we bring together the people who make that happen. Our business partners, the students rolling up their sleeves, and the faculty who bridge the classroom with real-world impact. If you want to hear how organizations are solving real problems, how students are contributing in meaningful ways, or how curiosity can drive innovation across our region, you're in the right place. So, welcome to the Innovation Exchange. I'm excited about today's conversation. We're with Robert Orozco, and we'll have him introduce himself and talk about his name momentarily. But he recently joined UW-Whitewater as part of our executive in residence team, and his focus area is AI. And how many of you, raise your hand if you're listening to this, are tired of AI? Or maybe raise both hands if you're super excited about AI like me. So I took this from somebody where I feel like I'm more of a techno optimist about AI. So we've sparked a lot of conversation revolving around AI. We just started a new degree here. There's lots of curiosity. And we're today going to talk to Robert more about how do we curate all the information that I feel like, and perhaps you listening are getting emails and events and newsletters or business things on how to incorporate, operationalize, or use AI. Before we dive into AI and who you are, Robert, let's just talk about innovation at a higher level. So what does innovation mean to you?
Innovation for me, means the development of new novel uses or technologies or ways that we can impact change in a positive way.
That is brilliant. I can't find it in front of me, but we just did a big innovation definition with our leadership here at UW-Whitewater, and I would just add the word that creates value. Do you think it has to create value, or what's your stance on that?
I mean, we'd hope it creates value, especially in an educational setting. But no, I would say it's pretty fair when it comes to innovation.
Okay.
Innovation has a very positive connotation. So.
Okay. Well, and so AI, people think of as it's an innovation. I'm not sure that's the correct way to think about AI. Can you kind of frame that up for us and talk about your background at the same time?
Sure, it's interesting because the underlying technology for the modern AI actually comes from the 50s. There was work to establish something similar to the way our neurons fire, and that's where the origin of neural networks come from. The only issue back then was just the computational power we had wasn't reasonable for what we can use for it today. It was really just the fact that, back in the day when they created this technology, we were using rooms of servers that are less powerful than the computation that's on our phones right now. And so there is a bunch of new, novel, and innovative things about AI now purely because we're able to use it. It's kind of like inventing a car and not being able to drive for 50 years. We're finally able to actually.
Great analogy.
Yeah, so we're
Okay.
finally able to start putting the pedal down and seeing AI accelerate and be applied in ways that we couldn't have applied it before. And like I said, I'll go back a bit into my background. My background is as a data engineer by career for probably 12 years. But because of that, there was always a lot of work around machine learning, which is just a statistical analysis integrated into code so that you're using the calculations and results you get to dynamically adjust the things that you're calculating. So instead of having static values, you're figuring out values and using those as a placeholder to do things. It's like prediction. Hey, how quickly will this machine break down? Predictive maintenance was a big effort for machine learning. But with the introduction of neural nets, we have things like image detection, which allows us to find problems in parts and components. And so when it comes to AI, I got into about, I'd say 9 years ago. I believe there was a introduction of neural networks into a competition called ImageNet, which was a image detection competition that they used to hold every year. And it was who could build the best software to detect like a cat in a picture. And we used to hand tune these algorithms and they weren't that efficient. I think the highest we were getting was like a 70% accuracy rate. And then there was a group that reused neural networks because they realized that we kind of had the computational power to do it, and they kind of blew everyone out of the water. And so it was the big excitement introduction to neural networks and what we see as modern AI. And I was really interested in it at the time. I always joke that my excitement made me sound crazy, and then ChatGPT came out, and now I sound insightful. So it's been a huge, opportunity for me because I've been really deep into this technology. And so now that it's hitting its popularity, it's been a great chance for me to be involved in organizations like UW-Whitewater who are trying to, move the needle and be innovative in the AI space.
Excellent. Can you speak to the different startups that you've created? One, I believe is, I mean, we've known each other for a while, but the most recent one that brought us together was when you were talking about um, a project or a startup, I can't remember, on deep fakes.
Absolutely. So I'm involved in a number of AI focused startups. I've been doing fractional work as a CTO, specifically in more
Oh,
novel
wait, what's a CTO? Not every listener's going to know that.
chief technical officer.
Thank you.
And so my focus is on novel or proprietary AI technologies. The one we kind of met when I was working on was Affirmity. Ironically, the underlying tech wasn't so much AI, but it was addressing the AI problem of deepfakes and synthetic media. What we were creating was an immutable media platform that could certify provenance of digital media using BioAuth security keys. And so what we did is we created a technology that actually leveraged a blockchain as its underlying tech to fully encode media onto chain and serve it back out so you can watch it. A lot of the ways that they're trying to counter fictitious media now is with hashing, which is just a way to calculate the value of a file, and we can check files against files. It's the same tool that we use to ensure that you're not downloading a application with a virus inside of it. We do something called a hash check. And so what we did is because of that, you can't modify any video without changing its hash. So and with video, we cut, trim, edit, recolor, and modify video files all the time. Even we do it on our phones. So the idea of having something that you can visually see and certify its entire value of the video, I think is going to be very impactful in the future because I don't think any of us want to walk into courts and see a video of us committing a crime we didn't do. Um, in that,
So does that exist now, that technology?
yes, we've built it.
Okay.
And we're actually deploying it into, ironically, a very interesting space, which is interlock devices, which are if you have a DUI, you can put an interlock device in your car, and they take a picture of you to ensure that you're the one breathing into it, and that is used as evidence in courts to say if you're trying to defraud it and you're having your friend blow into it so you can drive home. So we're certifying that image that they use for those court records for the legal process. And we're also right now talking to a number of politicians for certifying their campaign videos and speeches in this
Good
election.
to know in this season of elections.
Yes, this midterms is going to be very interesting to see. So we're really excited, and we hope we can keep moving that forward. Some of the other AI focused startups I'm involved in, one of which is called Ready Report. It's based out of Pennsylvania with a with a guy by the name of Lucas Burke. It is a technology to take video and then generate structured written reports from those videos. His original concept was to generate police reports from AI watching the video, which helps in removing biases and things that can be, interpreted when someone's drafting a police report. We have a patent granted on that that I'm on. I believe it was mid last year. And then some of the other ones are Cerveza, and Pillpole, which is kind of a single entity company. One does surveying for the general populist businesses. The other is surveying for political entities. But what it does is instead of the silly little bubble surveys of, on a scale of 1 to 5, do you like it, highly dislike it? They let you do just audio recordings or plain text answers, and then they use AI to interpret and derive insights across a great number of people.
Oh, we'll have to explore that one more. So the point is, though, you are deeply involved
Oh, absolutely.
in AI, and as well as startups, innovation, which is perfect for us at the Innovation Exchange at UW-Whitewater. The focus today, there's so many places to go, obviously, with these different topics, but we wanted to talk the last time we were together was on the pace of change and how does one curate all that information? And let's talk about more of the basic to like maybe green belt, if you will, of AI, not people in your category of expert,
No,
but
absolutely.
people like me, like we're learning it, we're paying attention, we care. I said I'm a techno optimist. Like I don't think doomsday is coming, although it might. We can talk about that later. But how do I curate all the information and keep up with it?
So part of the problem that we're running into also is just so much more is happening. AI specifically is my focus in career, and even I have trouble keeping up with it. There's so much happening. I think just yesterday, uh, Claude's Claude Code's source code got leaked, which
I
is
brought it along today. It was in my daily newsletter, The Neuron.
you
I'll
know
give them a plug. That was their thing, and I wanted to bring this up to you.
oh,
So yeah, what does this mean?
well, so Claude Code is a fantastic agentic tool for coding, and so there's a number of when it comes to AI, there's two real components. There's the model itself, which is all of the underlying math that they've done over all the content to get it to answer things correctly. Then there's the scaffolding around it. How does the AI interact with other things? How does it use tools? That could mean, using a piece of software.
I like that. Model scaffolding.
Yeah. And so when it comes to their source code was how their model is able to interact with the IDE's interactive development environments so that it can do the coding and create the files and read the files, etc. And its process and logical reasoning flow for how it, does that. That's what got leaked. I don't believe the model weights themselves were leaked for any of Anthropic's models. It was really just the scaffolding around the models that allow their agents to be so effective. About end of last year, I think it was November, Claude Code kind of came out of nowhere, and almost everyone I know who's a software developer moved over to Anthropic and Claude Code because the technology is so good. I've had much better experiences with it. Funny enough, when it first came out, I actually was not a fan of Claude Code. I didn't think it did that well of a job, but some of the advancements in scaffolding they've built around their models have made it a real powerhouse in coding development. And like I said, just all of these things keep happening and they're happening so quickly. And so even I have trouble, keeping track of everything. One of the things I do is I actually have a pre-structured news prompt that I feed into Gemini on a semi-regular basis. And what that does is it breaks down, who I am, what I do for a career, what information is most important to me, and then it uses Gemini to effectively find and curate all of the
Hmm.
information to me because I really do think that we're going to hit a curation economy point because the proliferation and
You heard it
generation.
here first. Curation economy.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a big monetization opportunity for people who can effectively curate the large volume of content and
Hmm.
information coming at us. And one of the interesting things, I don't know if this is your experience, but when I started using Google back in the day, I think it was, you know, preteen at that
I
point.
was going to say probably, or even before most people.
Yeah. And so it was great. And now it seems to be getting worse and worse. And I think part of that is just the flood of information. And so now with AI, it's a great use case to have a model or a logical flow or an agent that will go through all of this information that you don't have time to and then bring to you only the critical parts. Because even when it comes to Google, part of their monetization model is selling ads. So everything is around what would get you to look at something, but also spend money. And that also spend money part really takes away from the thing you really want to see. Because, sometimes you just want to go Google something to learn it. Sometimes you're looking because whatever your use case is, it's always focused around figuring out ways to sell you things. And
Okay.
so now that we have AI, we can have AI more tailored towards what we actually want and what brings us value. And I think that we're going to see a whole use of AI agents and technologies that have a basic understanding of who we are, but then can also filter and sort and kind of bring to us the things that are important.
So, but you just mentioned the AI agents bringing this stuff bringing the information in a curated manner
Mhm.
based on what I might tell it in a pre-structured prompt. Totally get that. But what's interesting is what could be the impact of that? Like I'm living in a bubble of information of that only I want. Or am I just being doomsday there?
No, that's a fair critique. I mean,
I mean, people do it now, I guess, in
no, we
all their social media.
well, I think, like I said, it already kind of happens in social
Yeah.
media because they're optimizing for your attention, and so if your attention is being rewarded for things,
Hmm.
if like I said, it's a thought bubble. You're right. You're like, are you getting swarmed by just things you agree with? But when it comes to it, that's probably a fair problem to deal with. But also, it depends on what it's grabbing you. If it's grabbing things that it thinks relevant, not on the basis of, hey, I necessarily agree with it. There's a whole tool, I believe, called Ground News, I believe is the app that I know a lot of people use, where it grabs from all the different sources and tells you the different perspectives of a specific news event. So you're not kind of trapped in that, just Fox News bubble or just NBC bubble or just CNN bubble. But I think when it comes to AI, it really comes down to how well you're prompting and what you're asking. Because for me, I'm specifically focusing on innovation in AI, things that will impact businesses because I do AI consulting, and think ways that the technology has, had innovative change. And so for me, it's just bringing all the information together for me to process. It's not necessarily giving me the answers to my questions in an agreeable way, the same way that we've seen the problem with um, ChatGPT being sycophantic. It's more just curating what I am now personally
Interesting.
ingesting.
Okay. Okay, that's a great statement. And I've heard from the beginning how important prompts are. And that really hasn't gone away. Even every time I talk to you,
Yeah.
it's talking about the importance of a prompt. And I was am surprised, I guess, would be how much information you can put into a prompt. It's really kind of almost endless.
Oh yeah. Well, it's there's two ways I think about it. One is that I always say that AI is the smartest person in solitary confinement. And so if you give it a very generic statement, it could be interpreted in a lot of ways. If I were to, say, hey, can you make me a calendar? Now, could that be, oh, can you get pieces of paper and markers and physically draw me out a calendar? Could it be, oh, I want you to code an application that works as a calendar? Or could it be, hey, I want you to go through all my meetings and then make me a calendar of events of what I'm supposed to be doing for the next month? There's a way that they used to do 3D scanning, where it used to take, here's a still image of something head on, and then to go to the side and take a still image of that, and from behind, and they would do numbers of photos and stack those all together, and it kind of carves out the 3D shape because you're taking an image from every perspective, and you kind of have to do that with AI. So if you make me a calendar, well, or can you code me a calendar? That code is another aspect you're looking at that same problem. Can you code me a calendar in Python? Now you're telling it the language, you're trimming it down more, and it's really about how many bits of those pieces of contextual information can you sum together to give it all of the relevant information. There's a great joke in software development where the people who claim that AI is bad at coding are the same people who can't write a good spec document, which is the plan for how you want to code things out. And so the more detailed and thorough you can be, the more effective it's going to be. Now we have some things like agent memory is one thing where it starts saving off things it already knows about you and then can recall as necessary. That has, semi reduced some of the problems with
Okay.
having to write out everything in a whole prompt. But really, it comes down to if someone were to ask you to do the same thing, how well would you know, or how many times would you go back to them for clarification? AI just is told to do it, so it just goes and does it. Um, I think there's a bit of a interesting critique we give on AI because it makes a mistake, but also how many times do we have a thought and then we think, oh no, that wouldn't work, and then we move on to the next thought. It just has to output that so we get to see it. So imagine if someone else got to see your internal thoughts of being like, oh no, that wouldn't work. Oh no, that wouldn't work either.
That's a great if you could see the visual.
Yeah.
So sometime on our podcast, we're going to start doing video. But if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Innovation Exchange. I'm Elizabeth Thielen with Robert Orozco at UW-Whitewater, University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. Robert is our executive in residence in AI. We're still on this topic of, well, it's kind of a combined thing, the pace of change and the amount of information coming at us, but how do we curate? And one of the things I'm hearing you say in many ways is creating a prompt,
Mhm.
pre-structured, to say these are the kinds of pieces of information I want. Are there other things somebody can do? And we're specifically talking about curating the information coming at us about artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Well, there's a number of tools that people are using. I think one's called Obsidian, where it'll
I
collect.
just heard about this yesterday.
Yeah, it's
Obsidian.
it's a very popular tool. It's a way to kind of compile and
Mhm.
create a long-term memory of things that you want, so you can recall it. Because part of the curation aspect is, even as we get more and more information, we have so many videos fed. Have you ever, seen a video on social media and you're like, oh, I can't find it now because I don't know the right words to say?
Yes.
And so with AI, it makes it a lot easier to actually come back to something you've done. There was a fascinating blog that really was impactful for me when I was growing up. It was actually about I was a big video game player when I was younger, and so the blog was about a guy who was playing World of Warcraft, and then stopped for a year and came back, and it was how most of the people who kept playing didn't make changes in their life. And so that actually kind of moved me away from a lot of my video game play. No, it was very impactful for me. And I loved that blog, and I couldn't find it for years. And then I think just a couple days ago, it came to me again in a thought from a conversation I was having regarding my son in video games. And I was like, oh, I really wish I had that blog. And then AI found it for me super easy. It was,
But when you say that, did you?
I just,
Because this is an ignorant question, but other people might be thinking it. Obsidian
oh,
am I going to that? Is that an app?
well,
What?
yeah. So that's just a,
What is that?
it's like an app you load up on your, you can either, I believe it's on your computer or cloud. But yeah, it creates a network of stored files. Now, I actually didn't even have that at the time. I didn't save the blog. I used
Okay.
Gemini actually. But the thing is, because it goes better than just like search terms, the way we index individualized words, uh, part of the value of AI is it builds the interrelationship of words. So now, if you reference the general concepts, even if you don't say the specific word, being off a word on a Google search can impact your results significantly. Being off on a word, but that means something similar close, AI can infer that and bring it to you. And so using AI as a search tool is very valuable. That's why when I said that news prompt, I always use Gemini, because it's also important to distinguish like ChatGPT or Anthropic's Claude. They do long-term training, and so at some point they stop ingesting new information and they just train on the big data set they have. And so the longer time passes, the more outdated the thing it has. So it's not going to be as good at asking a question about what just happened. It's going to have to do its own Google search and pull it. But that's very native for tools like Gemini. And so Gemini, because it's built by Google, their whole concept was, live, what's happening, constantly adjusting. And so it's a great tool for helping, curate, organize, or find things that were valuable or interesting to you.
So again, pre-structured prompt.
Mhm.
Is it Obsidian?
Obsidian's the software.
Is software.
The prompt you could just put into Gemini.
True. Yes.
Yes.
Or Chat. Whatever, whatever tool you have. Other strategies? I'm just staying on the strategy of keeping up and curating information. What other strategies you have? As our listeners are vast, but we also have students, faculty, staff, partners, organizations. Anybody can listen. But
Well, so part of it is, with that prompt, it's already kind of telling about me, not necessarily just what I want to see, because AI can also figure out things that I might want to see without me having to explicitly ask it.
That's kind of could be awesome and scary, right? At the same time.
Absolutely.
I think awesome.
But it's the same, for if you have a friend, it's hey, I thought you'd like this.
Yes.
That's the same concept,
Great.
So
I like it.
Yeah. So really it comes down to, it's about understanding what you want, or even using AI as a tool to say, hey, what might interest me given these things about me? So it can help in the discovery aspect. It can say, okay, well, I already know X, Y, and Z about you. Well, a lot of people who like X, Y, and Z also like W. And so here's something that you may not have seen or known that you'd be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
We see this a lot with with music stuff. You'll get your suggestions in your Spotify. An artist will come up and it'll, oh, hey, I've never heard of this artist before, but a lot of the people who like this also like this. And AI can be really good at going out and searching and finding kind of those new novel things that you don't know about. Like I said, I know it's not a huge broad brush, but really, like I said, it comes down to so much information is now just being spun out because, all the SEO guys can now do it at scale with AI and they don't have to hand type their articles. So now we're just getting more and more content over and over. So it really is going to be important to have ways to not waste all of your time.
Right.
It's still building out those toolkits.
You just made me think of, where do you, if you had to draw a graph, nobody can see us, we're using our hands, but are we at the beginning of mountains of information?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Because right now.
So I'm feeling overwhelmed now. Wait till a week from now and a month from now.
My joke with AI is it gets worse before it gets worse.
Okay. There you go. Well, I got all kinds of quotes from you today.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, a lot of it's been text recently, obviously, because ChatGPT was all text-based. We're starting to see the proliferation of AI music with tools like Suno. And so you're going to see a lot more music come out. It's a double-edged sword, too, though, because now a lot of people who may have had a really great idea but didn't have the talent to actually pull off their idea now can manifest it.
Which is amazing.
No, absolutely.
I mean, like I made a jingle for a business using an AI tool.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. And then
bad for the jingle maker, right? Freelancer.
Well, like I said, part of it is I think we're also just generally unlocking a level of human creativity that we didn't have access to before, purely because, limited time. I don't have time to learn guitar. But, here's a really cool guitar riff concept, and now you can hum it into Suno, and Suno can make a guitar riff in that hum. And so we're getting at a lot of unlocking of creativity, but then it's everyone has the capacity to start creating content, not just the hyper-talented people who make a video and now everyone sees. It's now going to be everyone, which...
And then I have to sort out. This is the whole point about curating.
Yeah,
the everybody's content, which is kind of like going to any social media app.
Yeah, well, and one of the interesting things when it comes to like the AI music generators, now the AI music generator generates a song longer than the time it takes to generate it.
And so say that one more time. My brain does not go as fast as AI.
So it will. If it can make a 4-minute song in 2 minutes, and that's more what I'm saying. We're hitting a very inflection point. It's one thing to, it takes 20 minutes, it makes a 2-minute jingle, that's one thing. Now it can make a 4-minute jingle in 2 minutes. And so because of that, we theoretically could have a streaming channel where all of it is AI music. We may literally get to the point where instead of a general Spotify, you're listening to novel music every moment because it's always creating the new music right as you're listening to it.
I would imagine something's doing that already now.
Well, there has been some instances. Okay. Ironically, it was Spotify, and they kind of got in trouble for fraud because what they were doing is they were creating a whole AI audio channels and having bots just listen to the music, but you have to have a file for the bots to listen to. But we're seeing it with video now. There's a few people that have done short films.
Okay.
With AI, like they're not long; they're 20 minutes, and there's inconsistencies. But anytime you watch an AI video, it's the worst it'll ever be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the technology keeps advancing, keeps getting better, and so you're gonna see all of the creativity, and then everyone's gonna be able to create movies, and then that's gonna be an explosion. The same way that we didn't have a lot of video content growing up, then YouTube came out. So now everyone with video camera can now all upload, and now there's a big repository where I think it was it was like 16 years of video gets uploaded every hour for, at least at some point that was the case.
Sure.
But now it's going to be with AI. You don't even have to have the video camera. You can have the idea, and it can make a video while you're doing something else. And so the volume of content, I think we're just at the beginning. I think it's going to explode.
Yes, which kind of comes back to curating, sorting. Where, like, literally on my whiteboard, I have the word focus on there, or be creative. The whole part of this podcast is being curious. So we're curious about how do we do this? And let's just talk about students and faculty for a moment. We are at a university. What kinds of things should they be paying attention to? Let's go to students, because employers hire students. And what can students be doing? It kind of related to AI, but curating this information and or using the information or technology.
Oh, of course. Well, for students, one, it's a great research tool in general. So it can help filter out and sort a lot of the information they're looking for when they're trying to learn on a specific topic. AI is actually a fantastic tutor. So I do this with my son, he's 10. And so if you have a general interest, it is great at, it's almost a personal tutor that you're paying $20 a month for, which is, a way out of the scale of what it used to cost to have someone that can help guide you, that knows information, or at least can help source information for you. And so, and also it's going to obviously impact what their jobs in the future will be. And so I think if they know the general career field they're going into, they should start looking into, hey, AI, go do research on what's happening in AI in my field, and then learn how that tool is impacting their chosen career field, and then how they can start getting ahead of it. Because one of the nice things when it came to like a software career was that because there were always new libraries or applications being added, it wasn't, somebody who's been in it for 20 years is guaranteed the best person. Because there's a technology that just came out a year ago, it was a great jumping in point for anyone to now become an expert in that new technology and that new career, dimension of tech. And I think with AI, we're kind of seeing that huge opportunity for them. It's this, hey, now that AI is entering in this field, most people are not AI experts. Most people have not been interested in AI for a long time. And so a lot of these, kids at the university have the opportunity to say, now that this new revolutionary technology is being applied to the career field, how can I position myself to be most knowledgeable about this impactful technology so I can almost leapfrog some of the people who have been there for a really long time and really position themselves for the future.
Yes, that well stated. And we have, so let's see if I can frame this. There's a biotech company. We have a biotech hub in our state. And this chief technology officer had recently said, and I've completely embraced it and share it, which is when they're hiring people, they want insatiable curiosity. And I think that I'm going to translate that also to, it's not that you have to be the AI expert unless you're hiring somebody for AI, which we now have a new degree. Yay, UW-Whitewater. But we're talking about students who might be in sales, marketing, or I'm a teacher, right? Physiology, sports. But it's using AI and being curious on how AI, you just said it before, impacts my field.
Absolutely. And so there's two, I think, great beachfronts when it comes to AI. One is obviously the underlying model technology itself. There's people who want to go into how does the tech work, how does the software form the model, but also that now AI is so impactful for business that there are now new innovative beachfronts in almost every industry. There are people figuring out ways to use it in sales. We're seeing huge advancements in medical use for AI. Like there are AIs that can help read X-rays. Google's AlphaFold helped figure out protein folding at scale. So where it used to be, I think there's a whole documentary on it. There used to be, I think, 100 proteins that were identified a year. And then Google was able to do over 50,000 in 100 hours because of AlphaFold. And so there are so many new innovative applications. Even though the technology exists, we haven't applied it to almost anywhere in terms of what its full capacity could be. And so understanding how it works and then the places it could be used is going to be a huge value driver. And it's going to be a great opportunity for someone who's young. Because like you said, part of it is just...
Well, I'm gonna say young and or shifting careers.
True.
Because you can shift.
True. Well, I think I was going to point back to your creativity aspect. Some people get locked in their ways. And I think that's going to be a big detriment to them. But at least for my experience, most college kids are very open to new ideas, very exploratory, creative, want to go into the workforce to make a difference.
I agree with that. But there are studies who even show we shut that down in the K-12 too.
True.
So that's what our goal is, to get back to it.
No, absolutely.
I mean,
well, that goes
without
back
digressing too far.
yeah. We can go into a whole talk about the Prussian model of education later,
Right. We're not doing that.
But
can I just interrupt this thought? So the whole thing about what you just said, and not only curating all of this, we're talking to Robert Orozco, UW-Whitewater's executive in residence in AI. But one of the things I wrote down, and I think it was somebody at Amazon back in the beginning, and they called it, and you might even remember this, but they called it day one. It's the day one concept, meaning we really are just sitting.
Yeah.
Even though it's been out for 30 plus years,
mm-hmm.
It's now everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. Common, but we're really at the day one of this technology. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Like I said, it's only been really applicable in the last 10 years, but it was still locked behind a lot of research and servers. But as computers keep getting better, and now it's been more brought to the open and to the forefront, like I said, I don't think we're at even 1% of its full deployed capacity. I think there are so many opportunities for uses of AI that no one's thought of yet, simply because it's just coming into existence as a technology. So I think there's
that's the day one.
I'm agreeing.
Even though day one has been a long time.
Yeah.
We're not, but everybody's aware.
Yeah.
So either you're sitting there listening to this going, woohoo, I'm super excited, or holy cow, and you're gripping. Yeah. You're hanging on.
Yeah, it's kind of
don't change, but the fact is, it is, right? It's here. There's nothing we can do to stop it. For those people who want to kind of go back in time, what do you say to that?
I wish too.
Okay, it's like you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah, pretty much. I often joke that it's Pandora's box is open and it's open source. So.
Wow, oh my God, that's another great quote. I'm gonna now have Robert Orozco quotes.
Yeah, it's just it's out there. It's not going to be able to go away, and I think it's such a differentiator in value that I don't think that you can escape it. It's just so fast. Even when it comes to software development, I often say when it comes to coding with AI, I don't need to code the button. Like there is a lot of repetitive code that gets used. We create libraries just so that we don't have to hand type out all of these things, and so. I don't need to code the button. I can have a robot code the button. What I should be working on is the novel use of the technology. It's how can you create novelty and innovation and have AI do the busy work.
And I'm going to go back to that whole thing of value.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the for good and for evil. We're going to just, for the sake of here, it's all about good, productivity, business, value.
No, absolutely.
Efficiency.
Well, like I said, it's fantastic because when it comes to things like now that it will impact things like X-ray techs because now that we have AI, it can scan X-rays, but also it'll drive down the cost of getting your X-ray analyzed so significantly, so that positive healthcare outcome is now scalable to all of the people who.
Right. So when I want to have it, I just want to be able to have it, not go through 3 doctors and authorities and insurance.
Yeah.
I want to just go get my X-ray.
Well, yeah, and you can have an AI.
I can stop at Walgreens and do that.
Yeah, and you can have an AI do all the processing. So instead of waiting for the doctor to have the time to go through and review it, it's going to be a software. It's like I said, that will negatively impact X-ray techs. However,
but that's happened with every technology.
Oh,
correct?
absolutely.
I mean, so X-ray tech has to shift.
Yeah. Yeah, they absolutely will have to shift. Or, at least we will, for a while, we're going to have the human check, the human verification, not just assume the AI is correct. But that also just, again, lets you do things at a broader scale. So now instead of the X-ray tech hand checking everything, it can have AI do 100 of them, and they're going to, in the same time, just review what the AI is assessed and see if it spots anything different. So it could probably do something, 1/20th of the time.
So I have so many things in front of me, but in terms of time, maybe we'll just do a second podcast. You're listening to at least the first one on Innovation Exchange. I'm Elizabeth Thielen at UW-Whitewater, University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, I should say, with Robert Orozco, our executive in residence in AI. I want to just talk about that human piece before we round out a couple more things and bring this to a close and do podcast number 2. But let's talk about the human element. There's, you even said it. In the X-ray tech, somebody's got to human check it.
Yes.
Can you talk more about that across other maybe careers
Well, I mean,
or?
I don't think it's entirely unreasonable because even when it comes to human doctors, we get a second opinion.
Yes.
So it's more just the fact that the same way you can't trust humans 100%. Humans can be wrong. And so I think that, it's going to be more overseeing things. Even when it comes to AI and software development, I often joke that AI has turned me into the thing that I hated the most as a developer, which is a project manager. And so now it's more, overseeing it. Now that
Yeah.
a lot of the, you know, effort that goes into, small tasks can be done by AI. Now it's, a person overseeing and just validating and checking. And we always want, a person in the system at some point. There was I can't remember who said it, but there was a quote around the lines of, you always have to have a person, otherwise you have no accountability.
Yes. The accountability.
Yeah.
In another group we're working on a tool and revenue generator, but we talk about how it's really then about accountability.
Yeah.
So you just nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can you still have that accountability
Yeah.
when it's all of a robot? And I think it's just going to be, you're going to be just validating at scale. We are project managers for a whole class of worker robots
Yes.
in the AI era.
And we need, I'm having an aha as we're speaking here. We're also then going to need more project leaders.
Absolutely.
So leadership
Yep.
will be
Yeah.
vital.
Product
Yeah.
owners, product, managers, architects, because AI isn't, at least right now, I could be wrong in 6 months. It's not quite at the level for fully architecting something. It still needs guidance around it. So I think the people who are able to take a step back, see the problem holistically, and then have a, see who can see the forest through the trees are going to be the people who have the greatest advantage when it comes to AI because they can understand how all of the cogs in the machine are turning and make sure that the AI is doing its cogly duties.
Cogly duty. Okay. So we're here talking about curation. We're in a university. What other things would you like to share as we look to curate information, but also use? And we're really at day one of using and potential of artificial intelligence.
Well, I think especially in an educational setting, there's tons of research that still needs to be done. We're seeing a huge gap when it comes to security, verification when it comes to AI. A lot of people are just kind of rushing to get everything out, but they're not building out the safeguards, the guardrails, the, verifications when it comes to AI. And I think that's a huge opportunity that we can start doing things from an educational setting. It's just doing the research, getting an understanding of how it works, getting an understanding of where it can mess up. Because as we integrate these systems more and more, I think without a general underlying understanding of the mechanisms, like I often get the question, it's like, oh, why don't they just program the AI not to do that? Well, to ask that question is a fundamental misunderstanding of what a model is. And a model is just a literal matrix of numbers. And it does the calculations, and you're reordering those matrix number or matrix lists to get your output. So it's not something, there's a quote, I believe it was the CEO of Anthropic said, is we don't code models, we grow them. And so it's going to be really important for us to understand it from that perspective. The same way a botanist doesn't like build a plant, they grow a plant. But we, build understandings of how these organic systems operate.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can guardrail them. We can, we learn about intrusive plant life. You can't control every animal in an ecosystem. You can't control every plant in a garden. And so it's really about understanding how they will act independently and then corral them. And I think that's going to be the big thing we're going to need to do with AI is just understand the ways it can act weird and then
Right.
build the
I love
safeguards
that.
around it.
Yeah. So we have cybersecurity here
Yep.
at university, and the AI degree, but that educational research and we focus a lot on undergraduate research here. We're not what they call an R1 university, but we do a lot of application research, and we hope to continue that and do more. So I'm going to look into this and more with the AI and security. What else do you need our audience to know before we wrap up? And
I would just say even I would wish this AI wave wasn't happening as quickly as it is, but it is. And so just be the most prepared you can. It is both the scariest, but also greatest opportunity. I often say we're going into the idea man economy, which is, there's always been times where people have an idea, but they don't either have the skills to do the thing themselves or they don't have the money to hire someone to do something. Well, now most of that work is done by a robot that costs $20 a month. And so the barrier to entry is getting so low that the people with very creative and innovative ideas will have a huge strategic advantage in other people or than other people in terms of the opportunities, the things they can build, the things they can create, and the things they can, bring to life.
that is fantastic, Robert. I'm so excited about that. So the idea, it's like idea economy.
Yeah.
Idea. Because it's easier. Oh, I have this song in my head. I can create the music.
Yep.
But you have to be able to do that. You have to breathe curiosity.
Yep.
Let's bring it back to to what we're here for. So, Robert, thank you. This has really helped. Hopefully, everybody's got some ideas on how to curate this tidal wave of information that sounds like it's not stopping. We're just at the beginning of it. So we'll come back. I'm Elizabeth Thielen. Thanks for joining us and Robert Orozco, our executive in residence on Innovation Exchange. If today's conversation sparked your curiosity, which it should, and made you wonder about how UW-Whitewater can partner with you, subscribe and share this episode with someone who's ready to innovate. You can find all episodes and partnership opportunities at uww.edu/COBE for the College of Business and Economics, /podcasts for the College of Business and Economics. I'm Elizabeth Thielen, and we'll see you next time on the Innovation Exchange. Be curious.